Hey, happy Sunday to you. I'm Eric, and you're watching Eric's Crypto Corner. I'm a tax accountant with over 17 years of experience in that industry, and I've been in the crypto space for over 5 years now, buying, selling, and mining crypto. So let's go ahead and get started on today's video. All right, so in previous videos, we've talked about kind of the two options that you have for mining Bitcoin. You can either pool mine, which is you mine with a bunch of other people, normally thousands and thousands of other people. And when that Bitcoin reward of 3.125 Bitcoin, that is the current reward and everything else like that, that's spread across a whole lot of people. So normally you get a very small, amount of the pie, as it were. Well, you can also solo mine. So that's the second option that people have whenever they're Bitcoin mining. And some people prefer solo mining like myself because the rewards that we get on our miners are so small. If we're pool mining, that actually we're losing money, when we include the cost of electricity and the miner and everything else like that. So people will solo mine and they just say, well, you know what, I'm going to spend the money on the power. It really doesn't matter. And they're going to invest in the hardware and the ASIC miners. And they just say, hey, YOLO, man, let's see if we can hit a block. Well, every so often you have yourself a winner. And a couple days ago, that actually happened to somebody, a home miner with a very small amount of hash rate. And we're going to take a look into that next year. All right, so we've kind of briefly touched on this in previous videos that, you can mine Bitcoin in, other people's software pools, or you can set up your own Bitcoin node. I have my own Bitcoin node sitting downstairs. You've probably seen it in previous videos, just kind of in the backgrounds. I haven't really talked about it very much, but it's not a super expensive computer. That computer wasn't a terrible amount of money to put together, and I want to say maybe $600-700 or whatever. And you could have easily used an older computer to set up your Bitcoin node, but needless to say, I just wanted something faster. So when we look at my Bitcoin node, you do need to have at least a 1 terabyte hard drive. More, two is better because you can see that you're getting really, really close if you only do the 1 terabyte right now. So I just went with a 2 terabyte hard drive. You don't need to have as much RAM. I've got, almost 50 gig of RAM there. And my CPU is a 5700X. You could have used an older CPU, it's fine. So really, to run a Bitcoin node, you don't really need a whole lot of investment, but really running your own Bitcoin node, makes the distance between your computer and the node really short. And so all of my miners now, well, 3 out of 4 of them that I have are now pointed to my own node here. And that's on public pool. So when we look at public pool, we can come over here and we can see that I've got, a few miners running here. Not a lot of terahash. What is that? About 7 terahash right now. And when we look at the other application here, which is Mempool, this brings up basically who's found what blockchain, or sorry, what Bitcoin in the last 10 minutes. As we talked about before, a Bitcoin block is solved or found about every 10 minutes, roughly. And on this Mempool, you can see who found it. So it actually says, okay, Foundry, Mara, Ant Pool, via BTC, whatever. And these are kind of the big players. But once in a blue moon, like we've talked about before, a solo miner will find it. And so like we've talked about, we run public pool. So you can search in here for public pool. And we can see 7 months ago, someone won, the 3.15 Bitcoin. So I don't know why it's 3.15. I thought it was 3.25, but maybe I'm a little over on my estimates. And we can see right here, 3 days ago, public pool on Umbrel, which is exactly what we're running, downstairs in the basement. And so when we click on this, it'll actually take us to the actual transaction. So it says, hey, they had 3 days ago is one on public pool. You can actually see, the subsidy plus the fees was $347,000. The fees was $1,787. And so this person walked away with roughly 346 $1,000 for not a whole lot of investment. And while when you do a little bit more digging on this particular situation, we do find through some other information that he actually had, or she, roughly 140 terahash, running out of his house. So he had actually won this thing on a nerd QX or something like that, which is not that much more terahash than these little nano threes that I have. So he had some investment into some hardware. I'm gonna guess, somewhere in the $3, to $4,000 range, somewhere around there. And he hit it big, or she. This person hit it big. They hit the Bitcoin block, and they are now up $346,000. If you want to include the equipment and everything else like that, price and power, maybe 340 or whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing some numbers around there. But what a good day to wake up and find out that you've just hit the lottery, basically the Bitcoin lottery here. So I kind of wanted to bring that up to talk about the node a little bit. That is not that difficult from a technology standpoint to get started. It's really just installing an Umbrel, which is super simple. Maybe I'll go through it in another video if that helps people. And then really you're just installing the Knots node. I'm not going to get into why I don't use Core right now, Mempool and public pool. And then you just mine, to your own pool with your own little miners at home. And like I said, the ping or the distance from your miner to the node is literally feet, so your speed at acknowledging transactions is very, very, very fast. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this up today, and so that that this is a possibility for solo miners to find blocks. And the other solo mining pool, that's the big one, is the Solo CK right here. And you can see that CK pool has a lot more people on it, but you can see it's pretty regularly. People are hitting blocks on this pool pretty regularly. So they weren't home mining, like I am, or like this other individual was, with their own pool. They were mining CK pool, which is kind of the biggest private solo pool out there. I should say it's a public pool. It's not really a big conglomerate, that owns this thing, but pretty regularly, you can see almost every month, people are hitting blocks over here. So either way, that's what we got for Umbrel, solo mining, and that somebody just recently won big time. All right, so congratulations on whoever the winner is. I've already seen that person, or claiming to be that person, posting on Reddit and stuff like that they've won and what they've needed to do in order to win. I personally wouldn't be like announcing that stuff and making myself super popular that way. But it is nice to know, that people can, hit it big once in a blue moon with a very small investment. So if you are interested in learning how to set up a node using Umbrel specifically, because that's the one I like doing the best, there's Start9 and so there's some other ones. Umbrel is by far and large for me the easiest one to set up, and it's really simple to manage. I've done virtual machines and stuff like that. It's just too much. So if you want to learn how to do a node setup, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, congrats to the winner again. Maybe someday, we'll see if I can ever hit that. It's like you've seen on previous videos, pretty much next to zero. It's like 0.00028 chance, ever hitting a block. But congrats to the winner. And hopefully some of you out there that are mining and watching this video, hopefully that luck bleeds onto you as well. Okay. So as usual, this video is meant for educational purposes. It is not financial advice. Don't go out and buy thousands of dollars of miners and hoping that you're going to go ahead and hit it big, because you probably won't. The odds are against you, but there's still a chance. So until next time, peace.